Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Nico V here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit differently than what I do on the channel. Normally, I do gaming, but today I'm going to be reviewing a movie. I know I don't normally do movie reviews, which I probably should because I have a degree in screenwriting, so maybe I can get some use out of that. But we're going to be reviewing Godzilla vs. Kong. I saw the movie last night, and I really enjoyed it. I feel very passionately about it as a Godzilla fan. And I felt the need to talk about it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to split the review into two parts. There's going to be a non spoiler part for the people who haven't seen it. And then I'll include a timestamp for the spoilers. And I'll warn you guys before we get into the plot twists and all the intricacies of the movie. So, yeah, non spoiler part, then a spoiler part. Obviously, if you haven't seen the movie, then, don't go into the spoiler part. But I'm going to talk about it for the people who have. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so before we get started, I feel I should give my perspective as a Godzilla fan because I am a very, very big Godzilla fan. I've seen every single movie. It's something that I basically grew up with. And yeah, I watched the Showa era and the Heisei era and the Millennium era. Those are things that, I just had them growing up with me as a kid. So Godzilla is something that I hold very near and dear to my heart. If you don't believe me, I'll show this right here. Something that I'm very proud of having. This is I bought this while I was in Tokyo. This is an SH Monster Arts sculpt of the 1954 Godzilla suit. It's very cool. This is definitely my favorite figure. Got a little bit of articulation in there. I won't talk about it too much, but that thing wasn't cheap. So hopefully that proves I'm a real fan, or maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that I am a big Godzilla fan. I was definitely rooting for him to kick Kong's ass, to put it lightly. Going into this movie. I'll say right now that during this review, I'm going to draw a few comparisons between this movie and Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is the movie that came right before it and led into this one. Just because, well, I really did like King of the Monsters, and I really loved all the kind of fan service that was put into that movie, like the soundtrack, the original Godzilla roars, and all that. I did like it in that respect as a Godzilla fan, but I thought, like, as a movie in general, it was a little lacking. Like, don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed it for sure, but I thought it could have certainly been better. I think that Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus Kong, I don't know which way it goes. I think that it kind of improves on everything that that movie did wrong, or what I found lacking in that movie, I should say. For one, I think this movie had the best pacing, especially compared to Godzilla King of the Monsters. I thought that's where that movie was really lacking because it just felt too long, and it felt like there were parts in that movie where it was just really dragging, and like I just really wanted to get through it. But I never really felt that watching this movie because you never watch a Godzilla movie for the humans, and I feel like the human plots move along quickly enough, and they don't take themselves too seriously. Like, it's not trying to be too overly dramatic. They're kind of self-aware, I guess, in a way, where the human characters are more kind of like funny than like serious. And I think that's important, obviously, for pacing, because while we would want 2 hours of pure monster fights, obviously we can't do that. We got to throw some human element in there, but they move along nicely. And I actually think that these characters, there's two groups of characters. There's basically a Team Godzilla and a Team Kong, both teams of three. Millie Bobby Brown's character from Godzilla King of the Monsters returns, and she's on Team Godzilla, rightly so. And they're both kind of investigating their own respective monsters. And I didn't find either of them like overstayed their welcome too much. I didn't think either of them was too annoying. There was a scientist guy in Godzilla King of the Monsters that I thought just told awful, terrible jokes that never landed every single time he was on screen in that movie. But luckily, none of the characters in this movie do that, so that's always a good thing. But yeah, I guess the point I'm trying to make is these are the most tolerable human characters. Like, there were points where they actually made me chuckle, made me laugh. They don't take themselves too seriously, and their goals are clear and straightforward, and they don't have that much characterization, but it's important for the human characters to have goals and for us to understand them easily, so that we can kind of go along with them for the ride with the movie, right? And they do that. They serve their purpose. But again, if you're a monster fan, you're not watching this for the characters. So they're kind of planks of wood in that respect. But at the end of the day, like, we're not watching for them. So they're serviceable. And I do think that they're the best group of human characters in any of the MonsterVerse movies, personally. Now, something to note is that in this movie, they do something that they don't really do in the other MonsterVerse movies, and that is they really try to humanize the monsters. Kong in particular, because we're kind of following Kong throughout this whole thing, and he's kind of got the spotlight on him when it comes to the character development, which is fine. Godzilla kind of retains that like anti-hero badassness that he had from the Heisei era, which I really really enjoyed because you know from the beginning of this whole thing they've always kind of presented Godzilla as a good guy, which is cool to see. Very Showa, but it was really cool to see him in his old like evil destroyer of worlds state where he's like burning down cities, he's destroying boats in the military, and he just doesn't care, which I think is awesome and was definitely a treat for me to see. Brought me back to when I was a kid. Even still, when it comes down to it, it also does. They also do humanize Godzilla a little bit as well. So that was very interesting to see, and I think it does help the movie in general because it's hard to get attached to the planks of wood that are the human characters. But I found myself rooting for Kong as the movie went on. Not to win because I wanted Godzilla to win, but just as a character. But yeah, with that kind of stuff out of the way, I guess we'll get to the nitty gritty. How are the fight scenes? I'll say right now, I think this movie had definitely the best fight scenes of any of the MonsterVerse movies. Um, they had great choreography. Like there was a lot of cool stuff going on. Again, another thing that I thought that Godzilla King of the Monsters lacked is while I like that movie, I always feel like those fight scenes were a little lackluster. Like we had Ghidorah and Rodan, and it's like I always felt like in that movie, like right as the fight scenes were supposed to get good, the camera would look away or it would cut away, and I was like, this is not the time for this. This movie doesn't have that problem. There are cuts where it cuts back to the humans, obviously, for pacing purposes. But when the action goes down, like you can really see the action. And something cool that I also liked is that they made the decision not to use too much slow motion, so the monsters themselves they appear to be way more agile than they were in their previous iterations. Like Godzilla's like crawling around the city, he's slapping stuff with his tail. Kong is just jumping around, kicking stuff, trying to punch the good old dinosaur in the face. But yeah, I really enjoyed the action scenes. Very well choreographed. There were a few very cool parts, and I think whoever did the fight scenes got very creative with what happened because there were cool parts where it's like, oh, what if like again, I'm gonna save this for spoilers, but there are parts where it's like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if Godzilla did this, like, or he did this move and then he did do it, and it's like, how would Kong deal with it? How would he react? So yeah, I think this movie certainly has the best fight scenes, and I was not disappointed with them in the slightest. It gave me exactly what I wanted to see, and I don't think I could want more. Like I don't have suggestions for how to make them better. Like I definitely did when I watched Godzilla 2014 and Godzilla King of the Monsters, but this one, like I just thought it was great. Like I just enjoyed the ride. And I was noting this when I was watching the movie. This movie does a lot with the CG. Usually CG is something that like like even I've been like, oh, I like the rubber suits better, but because of how the fight scenes are, it does with CG what you can't do with rubber suits, and the creativity is definitely there. So I think this was a very good use of the CG, and if they can keep putting out fight scenes like this in this movie, then I'm happy to see it. And it is where the technology should go. Like you might as well push the limits to what you can do with creativity. I guess in a way, as a result, it makes the monsters feel a little bit less weighty because of how like fast they're moving. But that's no problem for me because it was just a spectacle to see. It was very cool, and the Kong versus Godzilla fight scenes they're top notch in my opinion. Overall, it was a great experience. I just very much enjoyed it. Like as the Godzilla nerd that I am, it was satisfying to watch. I'll get more into the spoiler part of this. But for now, if you haven't seen the movie, definitely recommend. There's an old rating system I use. I definitely give this movie a full price. It was a great ride. It was a great ride, and I truly do hope that they make more. I hope this isn't the end of the MonsterVerse, because if they can make stuff like this, like I think Godzilla's got a bright future ahead of him. All right, everybody, we're gonna get into spoiler territory now. This is your last warning, so if you haven't seen it, I recommend turning off the video, watching the movie, and then coming back. But if you don't care, I guess that's okay too. But yeah, we're gonna get into spoilers now. So final warning. Let's get into it. All right, so to start this section off, I'm going to give a few critiques that I couldn't give in the first part because they're like specifically for specific parts of the movie. not really plot holes, and I don't think they were enough to make me dislike the movie at all. But they were things that I definitely think they could have done better. The first one of that is going to be the main bad guy, the company Apex, which is also a video game, funnily enough. I thought that they actually had a noble goal. Because if you think about it, people on Earth have to live with the fact that they're just giant monsters running around that can wipe out their cities at will. I thought that Apex's goal to say, "Hey, we don't want to be at their mercy. We want to have our like we want humanity to have its own way to fight back." I think that makes a lot of sense, you know. But the problem is that they didn't really present the bad guy as like a as kind of a noble figure. They just presented him as such a stereotypical big evil corporation bad guy, which I think is a huge missed opportunity. Because it's like when Godzilla attacks and he attacks and it says he only kills 8 people, which to be honest, considering what he did to the city, I think that's pretty good, no less. But anyways, yeah, the big bad guy, he's just such like an oh, I'm the head of an evil corporation like stereotype. Like he's just that archetype. And like I think if he straight up like made a speech and he's like, didn't you see what Godzilla did to our city? Like this is why we need this. Like we need this defense against him. I think that would have hit just a little bit harder, and I would have like related to him a bit more. And again, I know this isn't a movie where we want to go over big moral themes and all that, but I think they could have given the movie just that much more depth if he was just a little less of a cartoony bad guy. There's another point that like I was thinking about where when they got to the core of the earth with King Kong and the lady started drilling the Team Kong, the scientist guy and the girl. I don't even remember their names. The scientist guy, the girl, and the little girl. They all were like they were all acting so betrayed. They're like, "What are you doing? Like, you can't drill into here." But like, I thought that was the whole point of the expedition. I don't know why they were acting so shocked. Like, I would act shocked if they knew what she was doing, but like the lady just took a sample of a rock. So I thought that was a little strange as well. And also, there's like questions about how easy it is to break into the facility, but I guess it was broken, so their security wasn't as good on the Team Godzilla side. That is, but again, those were my small critiques. My biggest critique was the villain one. Think they could have done more with him, but again, doesn't really take away from the movie because you're not there for the humans, right? And I'll say right now, the big plot twist is Mecha Godzilla. He was not teased at all, which thank you, people who made the trailers, for not even like saying anything about him. I knew that twist going in. I didn't know about Mecha Godzilla, but going into the movie, I predicted that Kong and Godzilla were going to team up to fight a third enemy. I don't know, like I just feel like it was a Batman versus Superman type thing, and I knew that was going to happen. But I will say right now that even though I knew it was going to happen, I still enjoyed it, and I still thought it was a satisfying ending. So I think that should speak volumes to how they did the movie, where even though I predicted something, it still was fun to watch, still an enjoyable experience. So kudos to the director and all the people that worked on the movie for making that happen. One thing that I really wanted out of the movie was a clear winner. Like, I didn't want it to be kind of like the original Godzilla versus King Kong, like back in was it the 50s or the 60s? I don't even remember. But where it was kind of ambiguous, where they fight and they kind of like go their own separate ways. Sorry, Kong people, but I think the clear winner to here is that Godzilla absolutely kicked Kong's ass. There was a point with the fight on the ground where they said that Kong won round two. That didn't seem like a win to me. It seemed like more of a draw. But Kong was always getting his butt saved. They gave him an axe. He still lost that fight. So I think it's clear to say that Godzilla is the winner here, which is what I wanted. So thank you again, directors, for making that decision, not leaving it ambiguous, giving us a clear winner. I think that was the most important part here to me. And another thing with the fight scenes is that that I couldn't expand on in the non-spoiler part that I'd like to now is with the creativity. I like that the directors they kind of considered all options when it came to what would a fight between this giant lizard and Kong be like. You know, I know that the boat part that was teased in the trailer, a lot of people commented on it and said, oh, well, if Godzilla just, if he just flips the boat and drags Kong under the water, he wins, right? And the directors knew that, and they had Godzilla do that. Like Godzilla tried to do that, but it was only through the human intervention that they were able to save Kong's monkey butt, you know? Another thing that's really cool is that I feel like they did a really good job at putting weight and stakes behind their attacks, because I think it would have been easier for Godzilla. You know, Godzilla's got the atomic breath, which, you know, is no joke, but I think it would have been easy for him to, you know, hit Kong and, you know, it doesn't affect him that much, or Kong's like resistant to it. But when in that final fight, when Kong is just like jumping around the city, he does not want to get hit with that thing. Like that thing is just cutting through buildings. It cuts through the center of the earth, and Kong's doing his best to dodge it. And I think it adds a lot of drama to the fight, because like Godzilla's shooting this laser, and if Kong gets hit with it, like he's dead. Like there is a part where he does get hit with it in the back, and it's only for a second, but like it blasts him, and like that it looked like it hurt. I mean, I imagine it hurt. Kong was out for a little bit after that, but it was great to see, and I think they did a really good job at adding stakes to the fight and having the power levels there. So yeah, Kong definitely got his ass kicked by Godzilla. As a Godzilla fan, that puts a smile on my face. But I'm gonna say right now, I respect Kong so much after this movie, because he put up a good fight. You know, like it's respectable. Like he had all the advantages. They had to give him an axe to level the playing field. It's interesting because the axe was actually a dorsal fin from another Godzilla, and that's why it was able to cut through his skin, which I think personally that's probably like the best explanation for it. But yeah, I respect Kong a lot after that fight, because, you know, like I said, he had character development. You know, he wasn't a static character. So seeing him, you know, change his ways, kind of grow up. They did say that he was kind of young in the last Kong movie, I guess. Seeing him change his ways and decide that, you know, Godzilla's not an enemy, I got to help this guy out. I respect it very much. And props to Godzilla being the gracious king that he is, or should I say, the gracious god that he is. He definitely had the opportunity to blast Kong in the face, but he decided not to, which was to his benefit, because he needed Kong for the Mecha Godzilla fight. Let's be honest, which we'll talk about right now. Mecha Godzilla. Okay, we're gonna talk about Mecha Godzilla. So I'm gonna say my one critique about him. I don't like his design. I thought his design was a little too generic. I thought that the previous iterations of Mechagodzilla back, all the way back to the Showa era, like the boxy one, and then the 90s one, and then the one in the 2000s, I thought they all looked like Godzilla, but I thought they were all very distinct from him. This Mechagodzilla, I didn't like the design of. I thought it just looked like a new skin for Godzilla, which, you know, granted, that's what Mechagodzilla is, but I just thought it could have had much more character. Now, that being said, I thought that he was a great villain, because, let me tell you, when he hits the field, he hits the field. Like, Godzilla starts getting his ass beat. They have a scene with the atomic breaths, like the two lasers, like they like connect with each other, like Ghostbusters, kind of. Well, not really, but you know, that's a classic Godzilla thing, like the lasers fighting. And what normally happens is there's a big explosion, and like, you know, it's kind of like whoever gets the worst of it gets the worst of it. But his laser just cuts straight through Godzilla's atomic breath. Like, it's not even a question. And when Mechagodzilla starts going in on Godzilla, Godzilla is getting wrecked. Like, he's getting his ass blasted by this guy. And like, I think that was also a very good decision on the director's part, because Mechagodzilla was obviously designed to take out Godzilla. So it does add stakes. And when you see Godzilla, who just triumphed over Kong, you see him getting destroyed by this giant robot who can just do everything better than he can. It hurts. My heart hurt for the guy. And I think that was necessary. Like, I think it was necessary to show that this Mecha Godzilla was going to kill Godzilla, and he would have killed Kong if Kong was by himself. Because when Kong does get up to help Godzilla, he still, it's not a clear like, oh God, King Kong could totally beat Mecha Godzilla. Like, it takes the two of them. And I thought that was it was a great team up, and I thought it was very cool, which, again, I predicted. I said going into the movie, I think that they're going to team up against a third enemy, which I thought would have been cheesy and I wouldn't like. But because of how they did it, because they both had to team up, and it required both of them to beat Mechagodzilla, I liked it. I liked it a lot. The part with the axe where Godzilla supercharges the axes, I thought that was a beautiful scene. Like, and you know, it moved me a little bit. It certainly moved me. But yeah, like in summary, Mechagodzilla I thought was great because like they added the weight to him. The threat was there, and they didn't really do it through talking or saying like, oh, this Mechagodzilla is the apex predator. Like he could definitely beat Godzilla, and then they just kind of show a lazy fight between them. Like he hits the field, and he's Godzilla will die if he takes him by himself. But luckily they had friendship. So it's probably a good thing that Godzilla spared Kong's life. I guess he really didn't because he was gonna die. But I'd like to think that he didn't finish him off. He didn't plan on killing him. Kong was just that weak. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I just, overall, I just thought it was a great experience. Like, as a kaiju fan, I think this is the best modern kaiju movie there is, other than, like, Shin Godzilla. But that's kind of in a different realm where it goes back into the morals of nukes and stuff like that, which is a little deeper. But as an action movie, I think this one holds up very well. It's got great pacing, it's got tolerable human characters, which is fine. Humanizes the monsters, and the fight scenes are so good. Again, one thing that I really liked is they didn't use a lot of slow motion. The monsters felt way more agile than they normally do. Godzilla's whipping his tail around, Kong's kneeing him in the face, trying to avoid that beam, and it all just felt right. So again, props to the directors for making those decisions. And yeah, that's gonna do it. I can't really say anything more. It was just a great movie. It's like it was a celebration of kaiju movies, which again, I liked King of the Monsters as a Godzilla fan, but I felt that movie was lacking. This movie, I think, has everything. Like it puts in those fight scenes that I wanted to see. It doesn't cut away when the fights are getting good, and the choreography is great. And like I don't really know what else to say. Like I got a lot of praise for this movie. It's a ton of fun, and I think in these times, fun movies is what we need right now. So yeah, so that's gonna be it for this video, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I had a fun time reviewing it, fun time talking about it. If you like this review, then feel free to subscribe and all that, and comment down below. I love engaging with people. Maybe I'll do more of them in the future if this one catches on good. But the inner Godzilla fan in my heart had to talk about this, so I'm glad that I could. But again, I don't normally do movie reviews, but if you want to see more of this, let me know. Until then, I'll see you all next time. My name is Nico V. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I'll see you all next time, and thank you so much for watching.